So when it comes to putting in 2K25, I feel like it's got easier. I don't know. Let me know down below if you think it's easier, but there is a great training method, and if you are using your own created pro, then obviously you are wanting to put the abilities in there. If it's something that you need to almost practice to kind of get better with, then make sure that when you look at the MyPlayer progression, we are putting a lot of attributes on all of your putting stats. So obviously you've got the put weight, contact, path and rhythm. You obviously put one, for instance, if I go up with this one, the contact becomes less and vice versa. But you have got the different abilities that you've got. So if you go onto the green, the main one's going to be the putting. You've got all of these. Then you'll also have the lag putt. And then as you go down, you've got Texas wedge and green reader. So this is a proficiency boost. It's kind of something that in general is a little bit more of a, I wouldn't say a cheat, but it's not necessarily getting better at putting because naturally it's reducing the scale of each grid. So you can kind of get better with it as such. But if you are struggling with putting, that's going to improve it massively. You will need to get to an 85 overall though. So you're going to have to do a fair bit of putting yourself, to be honest. Now, the biggest approach that I would suggest to start with would be the training area. Other than just going and quick playing and try and put in, and even if you just went into quick play and just went onto the put-in side, go and do that and give it a go. Training and practicing is going to make it so much better. You do have to be able to read a green as well, not necessarily knowing that if it's completely flat or not. When you go into the put-in practice, as you'll see, you want to be making sure that your swing is capable as well. You can kind of gauge where you're going with the swing. So normally the first one here, it tends to be pretty straight. So as you can see here, you can read the slope a little bit. If you press Y, you can kind of see slightly where we're going with here, but it's not necessarily going to give you the full line. I don't know if you go into the settings, if you could actually get them. Let's see if we can. I know in settings sometimes you can almost get the full put, but I'm assuming that this game doesn't allow that because otherwise there's no getting better if you can get a full line, almost like 8-ball pool. But realistically, the best thing to do is kind of, these scenarios so you can see downhill. Realistically, if you don't want to potentially go for the shot, maybe your MyPlayer isn't necessarily the greatest at putting in general, go for the easier put. Maybe don't go for the full power, just put a little bit on it, because otherwise you end up winding yourself away and struggling a lot more. So for instance, if I was to go for the full whack here, go all the way up, and I'm like, okay, well it's going to the right a little bit. So we know full well in these sort of scenarios that we need to be on the left a little bit. Now it is kind of getting to the point where you go either the full amount or do you go a little bit, and you'll learn that maybe just trying a little bit to the side is going to be more than enough, or you need to put a little bit more mustard on it. So realistically, this is where them squares would actually do well in the abilities, because you know that maybe you go a little bit more of a feet. You got to make sure that you're obviously going for the right put, and sometimes you miss out just a little bit. Now obviously when it comes to these puts, it is going to give you the same scenario, so realistically you are going to get it eventually. But what I would suggest is practicing here, trying it out like this is just a rushing attempt obviously. So if you wanted to try it properly, you do need to go ahead and get the swing right as well. So if you're going to go with the swing properly, you know that you need to be a little bit more on the contact side of it, and just showing you the difference between a perfect swing pattern and also transition, but then not getting the perfect actual swing is going to have a big effect on it. So you can see the contact and then having the two perfects is absolutely massive. You've got to make sure that that is absolutely on right. So if you're going like this, you need to make sure that you are going pretty perfect for that curl. Oh, that one's the one I actually really tried as well. So naturally you've got to make sure that you are hitting it perfectly on the line here and making sure you're not curving out like that. Otherwise you might just get a bit lucky, if anything. Uphill going straight, like I said, you want to be going as kind of up as you want, but making it so it's something like that. Getting onto the green early and then practicing your putting is going to be absolutely massive, because you sometimes won't get every put. It won't be as easy as a straight shot like that. You want to get close. So if I'm on a longer putt, for instance, which I'll show you in a second, it should be to the point where you're getting closer. Something like this as well, where if I go for the full whack and I miss, you don't want to be going further away than what you already are. So I know full well that you've got to go a little bit here. Let's go for the little swing, and you can see, okay, well, at least I'm close. That's the whole point of putting, is getting to the point where you know that you're going to be able to get a certain distance, but then you're not going too far away, that if you're going for the attempt to get it in, that it's not necessarily going to blow up in your face as well, because that would be the worst thing that can happen. Because if you go down a hill, if you roll too far, that's just going to be the embarrassment to be able to get back up and get you more shots away. When it comes to just the straight puts, to be honest, they should be pretty standard. A lot of the time they will go a little bit more up, but I'm interested with this one. This one's a bit further away, but you can see it's pretty straight. Learning to read the green fully in terms of any lumps, bumps and stuff like that, it's difficult. It's not the easiest. So you're going to have to be able to almost read it and basically just, you're going to have to go on the courses. Something like this, practicing, you get to see loads of different puts. You can kind of see some of the flat surfaces and see how much power you need. It is predominantly going to give you a lot of the power yourselves. I'm not going on a complete Legends difficulty at this point. It is just kind of your amateur to semi-pro. So it is going to give you a lot of the angles. It's going to give you a lot of the power that you can go for. And then you've just got to work out which side you're going for. So definitely practicing on here is going to be perfect, and then kind of seeing where we go. You can see we've already done the full cycle of this, so it doesn't necessarily give you a great deal of angles. It's kind of a lot of straight puts. So what I would suggest is going into the actual quick play and just going in for the greens. So I think you can do that actually, or at least you can definitely train in that sort of environment. I think if we went over here and go back to the training, I don't know if they have a scenarios thing that you can do where it is a little bit more on the putting, because we had the other side as well, which is putting training. So this is going to give you some lessons, which is always perfect, some extra bits that will kind of give you that little rundown, but they're going to be the best kind of modes for putting. It is just, in general, trying it out. As silly as it sounds, the actual training of it is as much as just trying the putting out and seeing where you go. Sometimes you might find it a little bit easier. I find when it comes to this sort of training sort of side to be a little bit more difficult. Now, I would suggest if you are using a MyPlayer, I would suggest training with him. With the lessons, obviously you are using Tiger Woods, so the putting itself, the kind of trajectory, the contact, the transit is going to be a considerable difference compared to obviously your person, because he's going to have a lot more skills that are available. So just make sure that you are using the correct person, because you do find that it is an absolute golfing class, and learning how to lag putt is going to be something else as well, to be honest. That's going to be a little bit more difficult. That's going to be pretty much just trying to get you to the green, really. So if you are going for a long putt, your aim is not necessarily, if you can, try and get it in 100%. Like you want to be hitting it as well as you can, but the main thing is you want to be landing about there, pretty much straight into it.